Welcome back, everyone, to this week one edition of Bruce Monnin's Computer Points Podcast. I'm Bruce Monnin, your host, recording from the home studio in Minster, Ohio. Also checking in from the greater Cincinnati area, we have our co-host, executive producer, and chief researcher, Rebekah Monnin.
Always happy to be here. I'm excited for football season, even if this one caught me by surprise today.
Oh, I thought maybe you were all ready to go. Of course, being from the greater Cincinnati area, we know that about the day this comes out, Thursday, our Cincinnati Bearcats open their season playing against the University of Nebraska in Kansas City.
That one, hold on. Kansas City, is that one half in Nebraska? Why are they in Kansas City?
I'm not sure. I think the
It's
game
in
was
Kansas
supposed
and
to be
Missouri. It's not in Nebraska.
I think the game was supposed to be in Cincinnati, and someone in Kansas City offered like 7 digits to move the game to Kansas City
This
for
isn't
some
a
reason.
scheme by Mr. Kelsey to get his new fiance into Bearcats football, is it?
It's possible. In case you hadn't heard, we have the current engagement of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. There is now a new Bearcat for life in Miss Taylor Swift.
Maybe.
Or at least, however long this celebrity marriage lasts. We'll see. But maybe they'll be together up in the box at Kansas City watching our Bearcats take out Nebraska on Thursday night.
That'd be fun.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe not.
I tell you, Rebekah, sadly, you said you were caught by surprise. It has been such a rush for me getting ready and getting prepared for the start of the season. I've not been keeping up on that sort of stuff near as well as I would like. I have not even watched a full stage of the Vuelta a Espana bicycle race yet that has just started this week. I'm relying on highlights.
Meanwhile, I have been keeping track of the figure skating season, which is also kicking off in the last couple weeks. So we had our first junior Grand Prix competition this week, and we had a summer sizzler for the U.S. Olympic team hopefuls the week before, where they demoed their new programs. So getting exciting for the figure skating season.
I'm guessing the summer sizzler is not sponsored by a steakhouse.
No, I don't think so. I think it was just it's hot outside and the ice is cold inside. Yeah.
Okay.
Not entirely sure on the branding there, but some pretty interesting performances coming up.
All right. So we have figure skating to look forward to. We have 2.5 weeks of the Vuelta a Espana bike race left. By the way, my personal favorite of the 3-week Grand Tour is just because you never know what's going to happen. Half those people don't even want to be there. Half of them are switching teams at the end of the season, and you don't know if they're really riding for their team or for another team that we don't know about yet. There's just strange things happen in Spain, and I love strange things. So my personal recommendation, if you just happen to have Peacock at the house so you can watch those 2 NFL games that'll be on there this year, check out the Vuelta every day. You'll enjoy it. Enough of that, Rebekah. Before our high school football week 1 results, we have our
Scores of the Week.
Ooh, the first scores of the week of the year.
Absolutely.
Pretty exciting.
And we have a theme this week on our scores of the week.
I do love a theme.
It was kind of accidental, but then I noticed it. I said, oh, that's kind of cool. So
are we trying to guess what the theme is, or are you going to tell me?
I think it'll be obvious, but we'll let you guess here.
Okay.
Our first score of the week, and these are all teams we cover too, so a bonus.
Nice.
Pandora Gilboa 22, Columbus Grove 21. The Rockets from Pandora Gilboa scored 15 points in the final quarter. This allowed them to stun the 2-time defending regional champs from Columbus Grove. This is a huge win for Pandora Gilboa, who was down by a point, went for the 2-point conversion. They said from the 1.5-yard line, so I'm guessing Columbus Grove was offside somewhere along the way. I don't know if it was while they were trying to kick or if they were going for 2 all along. And from the 1.5, they did an off-tackle run. Boy, it took a long time for the referees to signal it was good. I don't think the guy made it by much, and it was in the bottom of a pile. So, but either way, big win for Pandora Gilboa to start the season.
Very exciting, very exciting. We love close games and good shows.
Her second score was from a Thursday night game. I love a good Thursday night game the first week of the season. There ought to be more of them, in my opinion. It lets me get a head start on getting all the scores on my computer on that first Friday. But anyway, Defiance 20, Napoleon 19.
Interesting.
Defiance stops Napoleon on a 2-point conversion attempt with 50 seconds left on the clock.
Wow. Okay.
So Defiance wins the River Rock rivalry for the 4th time in 5 seasons. New coach Steve Rittenauer's first head coaching win. That's a nice way to get a first win. We seem to have cat troubles here on the Cincinnati set.
Yeah, I'm about to go put my dinner away so I can pay attention to the podcast. 1 second.
Okay.
If you want to continue, I can still hear and still talk.
Okay. And we are back with our third score of the week. Coldwater 49-48 in overtime.
Wow. Okay.
Not sure whether that means we had great offenses or poor defenses or a combination of both. However, both teams score touchdowns in overtime. Coldwater went first. They made their extra point. Valley View rolls the dice and goes for the win, but their 2-point conversion pass falls incomplete. So I guess we have 2 themes there, Rebekah.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if you were going for they were 1 point separated or they were a result of a 2-point conversion attempt.
Well, I started with the 1 point separated and then noticed, hey, look at that. They all had a 2-point conversion attempt involved. So you hit them both.
That's kind of a 1 point difference is kind of almost begging for a 2-point conversion. So
it
not
is.
surprised.
It's do you want to keep tying and playing another overtime or you want to get the game over with right now?
Yeah.
That'll get us into our actual computer points here. I'm not going to give you any numbers or anything this week. It's week 1. There's no second level points for anyone yet. So we're just going to mention the winning teams and the losing teams this week. Sound fair?
Sounds perfect.
All right. We're going to start Division 1, Region 2. We follow Troy and Findlay. Both, unfortunately, suffered losses this week. They are both 9th in the standings right now. That means 8 of the 18 teams in their Region 1. The other 10 teams lost. I think both teams have opportunities to make a comeback this week. Troy hosts 1-0 Xenia, so I think they could actually win that game, and they would get bonus points here for little second-level points. Same with Findlay as they travel to play 1-0 Lima Senior.
Yeah, there's not too much shuffle up in there. We thought Lima Senior would do pretty well, and the other 2 would be more middle of the pack.
Yep. Moving on to Division 2, Region 8, Lima Senior, indeed, gets the W. They beat Piqua 12-7.
I was reading ahead, wasn't I?
Yes.
Whoops.
Unfortunately, that means Piqua lost. As we mentioned, Sydney lost. They are both ranked 14th now. That means 13 of the 23 teams won in this region. So a tougher first week in this region. I said Lima Senior beat Piqua 12-7. They have 3 more what I consider tough games remaining before I think they'll probably sweep all 6 games that they have in the Toledo City League to end the season, or at least 5 of them probably. Piqua this week, though, coming up, faces a real challenge against Tip City. I think every year we say Tip City's probably going 9-1, 10-0, and every year Tip City goes 9-1 or 10-0. That's a strong program right now. Sydney has a more interesting game. They play against 1-0 Fairborn, and I show that as a game that's likely to be, pretty close. So now we got to give one quick caveat here, just because I love saying the word caveat. I'm going to mention a few games where someone is favored, someone's an underdog, or whether it ought to be close. That's take that with a grain or 2 of salt. The computer standings have a rather heavy bias to last season in it. And to be honest, my mind also has a rather heavy bias towards last season in it. So when we say these things, Don't be too offended. Take it with a grain of salt. We're guessing pretty much right now. Hopefully, it's a somewhat educated guess, but still a guess. Moving down to Division 3, Region 10. We have our 5 WBL teams here. The WBL as a conference went 5-5 this week. In this region, we have 2 wins and 3 losses. Wapak and Defiance with wins. We mentioned Defiance's win in our scores of the week. St. Mary's, Salina, and Lima Shawnee all took losses. But if you look at that, they are now 11th in the standings. That means there were only 10 teams that won in this region out of 28 in week 1.
Okay.
Still a good opportunity to reach that top 12 in this region. A bad start for many of the teams here. By the way, if you want to see the actual computer points, don't forget to either check out our website, brucemonninscomputerpoints.com or something like that.
Or something like that.
If you search for that, you'll find it. That's what matters. I think I paid the money to, who do you pay money to get the naming rights? Yeah.
To get the naming rights?
Yeah, that one Danica
do like
Patrick
a GoDaddy.com?
Yeah, GoDaddy.com. Yeah,
all right.
I think they get some of my money. I'm not the biggest technological whiz if you haven't figured this out. Also, by the way, I have figured out how to put this podcast on YouTube, and if you go there, the computer points will be on the screen. So
fancy.
You can follow along with us if you watch this on YouTube. Back to Region 10. Wapakoneta, a really nice win over Oregon Clay. That's a team who I think should win 4 to 6 games this year. Their next game for Wapak, they host Salina in a game that's probably a lot more important for Salina than it is for Wapak, considering Salina started with a loss this week. He mentioned Defiance earlier, another great opening game in the River Rock rivalry against Napoleon. Last year, they lost that game by 1 point. So that's, if you're looking for a week 1 game next year, you might want to reserve your seats now. That's always a good one. Unfortunately, I think next year it's on Friday. I believe when it's at Defiance, they play on Thursday. When it's at Napoleon, they play on Friday. Something confusing like that.
So you'd have to give up your home game to go see it.
Yeah, and that's not going to happen.
No.
If it was a Thursday, so maybe 2 years from now, it's off
maybe
to Defiance.
2 years from now, we'll sneak you up to Northern Ohio.
Yeah, I can do that. Now, we mentioned St. Mary's lost. I'm still not sure what to make of this. I was kind of looking for St. Mary's to have a good year. They lost 35-6 to Galleon.
Ooh.
Maybe Galleon's just very good. Maybe St. Mary's just had a very bad week 1. Trust me, bad week 1s happen. I saw 2 teams this week who both had a bad week 1.
Oh no. Spoiler.
A lot of times you have
Division
a lot of
7.
times you have inexperienced starters taking over, and that first week can be a little bit not as smooth as one would prefer, let us say.
Hectic.
So we'll learn a lot more about the Rough Riders when they host 1-0 Lima Bath this week. Now, on the other hand, Lima Shawnee, I saw part of their game. They lost 22-19 to Lima Central Catholic, but I thought Lima Shawnee looked a lot better than we were letting you people know during our preview episodes. I think Mr. Van Wright said something about Lima Shawnee had nothing to play for this year, if I remember.
He said their basketball team's probably going to be good.
Yeah, he did say that.
But maybe not the football team.
But I liked what I saw, especially in the first half. The Lima Shawnee offense looking pretty good.
All right.
Again, big test next week. They play 0-1 Kenton. If they have trouble with Kenton, maybe Van was right. But that looks like a good opportunity to grab a win to me. So we'll see how they look this week. Okay, moving to Division 3, Region 12. We follow 3 teams. They all won this week. We like that.
Nice.
Bellefontaine put a running clock on Sydney. So not good for Sydney, but good for Bellefontaine. Tippecanoe won 21-0 over Bellbrook in a game that I kind of thought was a toss-up game going in. We'll learn more about both these teams as this week, Bellefontaine, they get to play Bellbrook. So we'll see how they do compared to Tip City, I guess. And as for Greenville, they are our
Team of the week. Ba, ba, ba. Our team never seems so good. So good, so good, so good. Team of the week. Ba, ba, ba. We believed we always would.
Ooh, a team of the week already. Exciting.
Greenville beat Eaton 24-14. Now, as I mentioned, the old Fantastic 50 computer is not exactly the most accurate thing in the world before any games are played, obviously. However, Greenville was a 39-point underdog based on last year's results, and that makes that the biggest upset in Ohio, according to Drew Pasteur's computer in week 1.
Okay. All right. Good for them.
With the win, Greenville snapped their 22-game losing streak, and they did so against an Eaton team who had a 34-13 record over the last 4 seasons. So that sounds like a good win. Not just a win, but a good win.
Good win. Might get them good points later on.
That's my thoughts, yes. Eaton won this game 23-7 last year. So great job by Greenville. If I remember right, that was another school with a new coach. Good start for the Greenville program this year. It brings us to Division 4, Region 14, where we have the other 5 WBL teams and a few others. The 3 winners were in this region, all WBL teams, Elida, Van Wert, and Lima Bath. Elida and Van Wert both earned running clock wins last week. Not very exciting for the fans, but a good sign for the programs.
Yeah, absolutely.
This week, they play each other. The winner goes to 2-0, gets some second-level points, gets a high ranking in the region to start with. So a good head start for the winner of that game this week. The other winner, Lima Bath, was impressive in defeating Indian Lake, who we are expecting big things from this year. And Lima Bath goes up against St. Mary's this week. So is St. Mary's going to be down from their big loss, or are they going to be out looking for revenge? Who knows? One to keep an eye on, though, I think, both from Lima Bath and St. Mary's perspective there. If our teams who lost in week 1, Napoleon is actually a big favorite to grab a win over 0-1 Maumee. Our other 3 teams that lost, Ben Logan, Ottawa Glandorf, and Kenton, all have games that feel like they could go either way this week. Let's see. Ben Logan plays West Liberty Salem. Ottawa Glandorf plays Defiance. Kenton plays Lima Shawnee. All 3 could be very games that could go either way, and I think games that could really make a difference in who's going to be a playoff contender and who is not come the end of the season.
Yeah, is this a tight region for playoffs? Do you need a lot to move on?
Boy, you think I would remember what I told us in our preview podcast?
This is one I actually wrote down. It was 5-6.
Okay, 5-6. Only 10 of the 25 teams won in week 1, though. However, so
yeah,
not the most difficult looking region just based on week 1 games, or maybe everyone here scheduled tough games. You never know.
Maybe. I was wondering if maybe next week's games are really going to make a difference for playoffs or not, but there's very, very few games that don't make a difference for the playoffs.
Yeah, all the games are going to make a lot more difference this year with that 12 teams instead of 16. It just feels a lot. Every game feels a lot more critical. It felt like last year you could just wait till week 5 to get started and still be fine. I saw a topic online this week. So how are we liking the change to 12 teams from 16? And there were all kinds of opinions. I just typed in, I think it's a little too early to tell. It's only week 1.
Right.
We'll wait and see how the season goes here before we make up our minds on this.
That, and we only had the 16-team playoff for what, 2 years, 4 years?
3 or 4 years, something like that.
It wasn't very long. So it kind of feels less like a how do we feel about the new system, or as opposed to do we have any regrets about coming back?
And if you remembered, this was, as you said, 3, 4, or so years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Back when they went to 16, the Coaches Association suggested going to 12. And I think that was right after COVID. And the state said, no, let's go to 16 and make a little money off more playoff games. And so
Yeah.
now we're going back to what the coaches suggested originally. We shall see what is better.
Okay, confusion on my end then. The coaches said 12 and the powers that be said 16. Were we at 8 before that?
We were at 8 before that, yes.
Ah, I forgot that.
What I think a lot of people are kind of finding interesting about the 12 is that there's different things to play for.
Yeah.
Before it was kind of
Yeah.
in the top 8 or in the bottom 8 for home field advantage. Now it's like the top 4 get a bye, so there's an incentive to be in the top 4. The next 4 get a home game, so there's incentive to be there instead of in 9 through 12. And then there'll be the fight to get in that top 12 to get into the playoffs at all. And
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's really going to tell until we see what happens in that second round of the playoffs when the teams that had the bye play the teams that won the week before. Which way is the advantage going to go, to the teams that had the week off or the teams that played?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And some people are pointing.
I was just gonna say that was my misconception with the earlier one. I forgot we started from 8. So it should be a nice mix of more teams getting in and more football, but also still keeping it competitive and exciting.
There are many people pointing out that the college football playoff last year was 12 teams. And the
Okay.
4 teams that had a bye in the first round pretty much all lost their first playoff game. Well, part of that was because it was the way it was set up. It was the conference champion. So you had teams like Boise State and Arizona State were in the top 4 in the seedings. But if you looked at the polls, they were ranked like 13th and 16th or something. So they were actually underdogs by ranking and by Vegas going into their playoff game. So not exactly the model we're looking at here to tell us what's going to happen in the high school playoffs, I don't believe.
Yeah, no, I think we'll have our own data.
Yep. Okay, we're moving down south in Division 4 now. Region 16, we have 2 teams here. Tip City Bethel takes the W, and Urbana takes a loss this week. 13 winners, 13 losers in this region. Nice even split.
Nice even split.
Bethel had a big win over Twin Valley South. They have a chance to show they will be a contender in the upcoming Three Rivers Conference race if they can get a win number 2 over 1-0 Dayton Oakwood this week. And I believe that feels like a 50-50 game to me. Urbana suffered a close loss last week. If they lose again this week against 1-0 Mechanicsburg, that's going to put the Hill Climbers a little bit behind the 8 ball pretty early in the season here. So I think that sounds like another tough game. Urbana Mechanicsburg, that'd be a fun one to be at, I think.
I think it would be. I think it'd be exciting. Just get a root for a fun football game in the crowd. Very low pressure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I should go to more neutral games where I don't have a rooting interest and I can root for just a good game all the time.
Yeah, if only you had free Fridays.
Only my Fridays were free. Yep. Let's move down another division, Division 5. Region 18. Here's a big shocker, Rebekah. Both Liberty Benton and Liberty Center rolled with running clock wins last week.
Yeah, they did.
We are shocked here at the podcast. I don't think Liberty Center will have any trouble again this week. I forget who they play already, but it shouldn't be a problem. Liberty Benton, however, they play an angry Columbus Grove team who lost to Pandora Gilboa on our scores of the week.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, keep an eye on that Liberty Benton Columbus Grove game. That'll tell us a lot here for later in the season also.
That's also going to be a good game, isn't it?
It sure ought to be, yes. Okay, moving down to Region 20 in the southwest corner. We have 7 teams here. A tougher region. 14 of the 25 teams won here. We have 4 of them. We'll start with St. Paris Graham. a nice 28-27 win over Kenton Ridge. I don't believe it involved a 2-point conversion, however, so it didn't quite make it into our scores of the week.
Dang.
Graham faces another expected tough game against 0-1 Milton Union. Milton Union, by the way, lost to Versailles last week, who is one of our winners here in this region. Versailles hosts 1-0 Cincinnati Hills Christian Academy next week. You know anything about Cincinnati Hills Christian Academy, Rebekah?
I think they're fairly well off, is about all I've got.
Their equipment should be top notch, huh?
Unless I'm thinking of Seven Hills.
Well, Seven Hills would definitely be well off.
Seven Hills is very well off. Cincinnati Hills Christian Academy. They look, again, well off. Oh, yeah, this is very nice. They've got a field that's named after Mr. Lindner.
Oh, if they have a field named after Carl Lindner, they're probably fairly well off.
They're doing very well. They've got a nice auditorium here. Yeah, this is a beautiful place to be.
If I check my notes here, let's see
4
if I have
campuses. No wonder I couldn't figure it out. Kindergarten to grade 3 is in the Edith B. Lindner campus.
They're named after the entire Lindner family, huh?
4 through 6 is in. There's a lot of Lindners that have their names on these buildings.
All right.
That's about all I got.
Okay, I'm doing a little research on my own here. I'm doing this the hard way. Why am I doing this the hard way?
The ultimate question. They do appear, this is my confusion, one of their campuses is pre-kindergarten to grade 6, and it is downtown.
Oh.
But everything else is up in Loveland. Fascinating.
All right. Well, anyway, I hope they have some very nice buses because they are driving to Versailles for this game.
Ooh, yeah. That'll be a late night for them.
All right. So we have Versailles and Graham out of the way. That leaves our tandem slightly favored to go 2-0 when they visit Tri-County North, who took a loss last week. Miami East, who also won, they have a tough road trip to play at 1-0 Carlisle. So if they can get a second win, that'll be very good news for Miami East. It's going to be a struggle. Of our 3 teams who took week 1 losses, Indian Lake has a great chance to even their record as they play 0-1 Milford Center Fairbanks. West Liberty Salem and Milton Union have toss-up type games against Ben Logan and Graham. That's 3 teams that lost in week 1 in this region who I have high hopes for all 3. West Liberty Salem, Indian Lake, and Milton Union. So
there's still time to shake it up.
Oh, very much so, yes. All right, Division 6. Now we start loading up on some teams here.
Here we go.
We're going to group a few together here. In Region 22, 26 teams, 14 of them took wins, only 12 lost. Of our winners, Paulding, Van Buren, Patrick Henry, and Convoy Crestview all won big, as expected. On the other end of the spectrum, Tenora, Spencerville, Ayersville, Parkway, and Hicksville all lost big. Unfortunately, also as expected. So back to our winners. Bluffton barely survived against Ben Logan and now faces a real test against Pandora Gilboa, who defeated Columbus Grove last week. Pandora Gilboa hoping to do the sweep of the expected top 2 in the Northwest Conference. Sherwood Fairview won a toss-up game against Wauseon last week. They face another 50-50 type game this week when they play 1-0 Delta on Friday. Allen East just beat Newark Catholic 29-26. Now that sounds really impressive. Newark Catholic is a long-time powerhouse in the state. They have not really been the last number of years, nothing like their old history. But still, it can't hurt Allen East to get a win over Newark Catholic. They face another close challenge this week as they play Fort Recovery, who won in week 1. That leaves Riverdale. Riverdale suffered a 3-touchdown loss to Ridgemont, which would have been somewhat surprising had we not talked in our preview episode about hearing Riverdale had a lack of players on the roster this year and the coach was recruiting on social media. So not so surprising that they lost by 3 touchdowns, I guess.
Yeah, that doesn't usually give confidence in the preseason training for these players.
And that leaves who? Wayne Trace, right?
Wayne Trace.
Another team that lost big. Lost to New Bremen 41-0. Bad running clock loss for Wayne Trace. However, this week they get Spencerville, who also lost pretty big. So one of these teams is going to pick up win number 1 this coming week. Time to get back on track. Get a win, get back on track, get the season rolling, right?
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it.
Hey, things happen in week 1. Coaches will usually tell you the biggest improvement a team sees all season is between week 1 and week 2. That's when they find out what they didn't find out in practice. They find out what their real weaknesses are and their real strengths, and they adjust accordingly. You're going to move down to the Southwest Corner, Region 24 of Division 6. 27 teams here, only 11 won of those 27. 5 of them are teams we cover. So, woo! Looking good come playoff time. Of our 4 preseason favorites in this region, Coldwater, Mechanicsburg, Anna, and Tri-Village, all won. Coldwater survived by 1 point in overtime. Another score of the week there against Valley View, while the others all had very dominant wins. Our 5th winner, Lima Perry, shut out Dixie last week. They are underdogs this week, however, against 1-0 Ridgemont in their home opener. Of our teams that took losses, Covington and Troy Christian, both underdogs in their attempts to earn their first win this week. While North Lewisburg Triad has a much better chance to get that win as they play 0-1 Bucyrus this week. Okay, time to move on to Division 7. But before we do, Rebekah.
Oh boy. I feel like I'm about to get quizzed.
Going off script here.
Okay.
As you well know, I have not been home that much the last 2.5 months or so.
Of course.
So today I was actually being Joe Cool. I was riding my electric bike across town, carrying a briefcase with my podcast computer in it to get back here to the home offices.
Everyone who saw you was jealous. Yes.
They said that dude is hip.
That dude is hip to be square.
But when I arrived here, I found a box on the front porch containing 2 croissants dropped off by one of our listeners from an establishment called the Rolling Pin in Wapakoneta.
Ooh, okay.
So, of course, I did an immediate taste test.
Now, you did get them for free, and they do listen to us.
For free, and they do listen. I'm still going to give a slight nod to Busalis down there in Cincinnati.
Also, however, a Centerville location.
Yes, although the owner now says he's concentrating on the one down in Cincinnati. He thinks they make better stuff than Cincinnati. Although I've been to the Centerville location many times, and it's also very good. Now, these, however, there was 1 butter croissant and 1 almond croissant.
Okay.
The butter croissant, let me put it this way. They did not skimp on the butter. It was very good. It was very good, yes. Now, I've never had a almond croissant before.
It's an up-and-coming popular flavor. Yeah. I don't know about recently. I don't know the culinary origins, but I do know it's been gaining popularity here in America.
Okay. Fairly good. I'm a butter croissant type guy. The almonds are okay. I don't know if that was some kind of ground up almond something that's in there. It wasn't bad.
Yeah, usually it's some sort of almond cream, like a marzipan. Inside.
Okay, it had a little bit of a sweetness to it.
Yep.
So not bad at all. I am a butter croissant man myself. I stick to that one, although the chocolate croissant's usually pretty good too. But the almond croissant also
decent.
How shall I put it? Let's just say if there was a dozen of them here, they would eventually get eaten within a
Good. Good.
They were pretty good, yeah. Not as good as the butter croissant, but pretty good.
That is good to hear. Well,
About once every 2 years, we get a gift from somebody here at the podcast. And so thank you for that one. I appreciated it greatly.
Off the record, did they leave a note or anything, or was it just totally random?
Well,
Totally
I'll just put it
anonymous?
this way. They seem to know when we would record because it was waiting here today. See if that gives you a hint who in Wapakoneta might have dropped off such a thing.
Someone from church?
Or maybe a frequent guest host on the episode.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Oh.
Okay.
Now that we have that out of the way, back to Division 7. Now that we're done begging for food.
I don't know that we're ever done begging for food.
Moving on. Division 7, Region 26. It never fails to strike awe on me looking at that list of all those teams.
It's
in Region
intimidating.
26.
It is
Yes, it is.
intimidating and impressive.
29 teams in this region, 14 winners, 15 losers last week. We shall start with the winners because that's more fun.
Yeah.
We have Lipsick, Ridgemont, Ada, and Arlington won big last week and are all expected to do so again this week. Arcadia also won big, but they are actually an underdog, I believe, against undefeated 1-0 Kansas Lakota here in week 2. Lima
Kansas
Central
Lakota?
Kansas Lakota, yes.
An Ohio team?
An Ohio team from Kansas.
Huh. Wow. Kansas, Ohio. A new location for me. And they've got a Lakota high school, which isn't East or West Lakota from Cincinnati.
Yeah, so we have a combination of the state of Kansas and the city of Cincinnati, and it's in
Sandusky.
the Sandusky area. Yeah. Makes
That
all the
sounds
sense
about right for Ohio.
Sandusky, which suddenly stands out to me as I saw about the first 30 minutes of the movie Tommy Boy for the first time ever. Yes, and it was based in Sandusky, Ohio, by the way.
We need to Google Tommy Boy now as well.
People always tell me it's like one of the greatest movies ever. It wasn't there yet in the first half hour.
Young David Spade.
Yes, indeed.
Interesting. He doesn't appeal to me, I have to say.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
But it's an SNL
Didn't.
movie, so I understand why it would be popular.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes, a Lorne Michaels creation there.
Yeah.
Back to our teams here. Lima Central Catholic and Waynesfield Goshen won close battles last week. LCC is a big favorite against Delphos St. John's, while Waynesfield is an underdog against 1-0 Ada. That's what the computer says, at least. I'm not so sure I buy that yet. We'll see what happens. That feels like a closer game to me than the computers think. Pandora Gilboa had a 1-point win over Columbus Grove. We've mentioned that several times. It kind of stood out in my mind. It was a big game.
Yeah.
And I mentioned before, they go for the sweep against the expected top 2 teams in the Northwest Conference when they host Bluffton on this Friday. Remember in our preview show, we were saying, boy, we don't know how that Toledo Christian thing is going to translate to 11-man football. Well,
Right.
They got whooped pretty good this week. I think my system needs some adjustment, but we'll give it the whole season to see for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to judge
Anyway.
them off the first game, but
That's right.
yeah.
They haven't played an 11-man football game in many years. So, but Toledo Christian, along with Delphos St. John's, Delphos Jefferson, Corey Rawson, and Van Loo, all suffered what I would call decisive week 1 defeats, and they are all big underdogs again in week 2. Columbus Grove and Antwerp lost their openers. They both have expected close games this week, so teams to watch here very closely. Our final 3 teams here, Upper Soto Valley, Macomb, and Hardin Northern, lost their first games. But I would say if they're not favorites, they all at least have good hopes to even their record this week. And we get to move down to Region 28. Not quite so big for us, but 27 teams, 13 winners, 14 losers, another 50-50 type region. We look up at the winners and we see 5, count them, 5 MAC teams there, to the surprise of almost no one. The MAC went 8-2 this week.
Do we need to shame the 2 that lost?
No, we don't need to.
Okay.
The two teams that lost were Parkway and Delta St. John's. I've heard Parkway is down quite a bit in players, and I've also heard Delta St. John's. Their roster showed 35 players. I heard a rumor they were at more in the 20s and had 3 injured already. So
Ooh,
it's a
that's not a good start.
it's no, it's not a. Those two teams are likely to struggle this year. It sounds like. But back to Region 28. All 7 teams who won their opening games are favored to go 2-0. St. Henry, Marion Local, New Bremen, Minster, Sidney Lehman, all fairly large favorites, actually. Fort Recovery and Ansonia are the other two winners. They are slight favorites in what I would consider toss-up type games again. Fort Recovery goes on the road to play 1-0 Allen East. I think that'll be a great test for both teams, especially for the Indians and their new head coach. Ansonia also on the road to face 1-0 Preble Shawnee. So we'll see if Ansonia can stay as well as they have been the last couple of years, or if graduation losses finally caught up to them. I'm guessing they're still going to be pretty good myself. Of the 4 teams who lost in the opener, Riverside, Bradford, and Fort Laramie are large underdogs this coming week. I saw Fort Laramie last week, a very young and inexperienced team. That team's going to get better. Well, how quick that's going to happen, I don't know. Mississippi Valley, however, I think they have a good chance to pick up a win. They play at Dixie, who lost last week. And finally, that brings us to our 8-man football.
Always exciting. We love 8-man.
If you remember last year, Rebekah, the 8-man teams skipped week 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then they played through week 11. They finished their regular season. Not this year. This year, they moved it back to even with the rest of the schedule. I don't know the reasoning, although it wouldn't surprise me if it had something to do with the non-conference games they played against other states, such as teams from Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Indiana. But I am not privy to that. I do not know the new commissioner like we did the old one. Didn't really know the old one either, but we had a source.
It's more of a we don't know him yet. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I like that. Yes. There was actually one league game in the Northern 8 Conference. Holgate defeated Stryker 36-16. The other games were all non-conference games. Sandusky St. Mary, Lakeside Danbury, and Sebring McKinley won their non-conference games. Fremont St. Joe and Oregon Cardinal Stritch lost theirs. Southington Chalker took the week off, so we don't know much about Southington Chalker yet. There is only one game this week that is a league game. The rest are non-conference there. So this week's game will be Sebring McKinley playing Southington Chalker. And then I believe the week after that, the conference games start picking up a little bit. All righty, Rebekah, that's it for week 1. I know it caught you by surprise. You excited to hear all the results?
It was a blast. Looking forward to the upcoming weeks, especially now that I've got our recording schedule solidly in my calendar.
Yes, I just put it in there too, just so other people know not to schedule things over top of it.
My lesson learned for this week is I need to also put it in my work calendar so I remember to leave on time.
That would be good, yes. Fortunately, my schedule's not that tight, so things worked out just fine.
Good.
All right, I'll hand it over to you for the all-important outro, Rebekah.
Oh, happy to. This is honestly one of the highlights of my week. All right. This was Bruce Monnin's Computer Points with Bruce and Rebekah Monnin. Ooh, I get my name in the outro. You can rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts and anywhere you listen, really. If you have a comment or question, you can send those to us at our email address, which is at wow, I'm out of practice. At our email address, which is bdmonnin@nktelco.net, or you can submit it to us on Twitter/X to @BruceMonnin, where it may be used on a future episode. Uh-oh.
Yeah. And by the way, you can also leave a comment on Spotify. We had one this week from a fan in Northeast Ohio that I replied
you sure
to.
Did.
So, yes.
Oh, yeah, I saw that come in and I sent it to you, and then I forgot to follow up. So it's good that you're managing the socials of your own accounts. You can,
The
of
least I
course.
can do, and I'm all in favor of the least I can do. So,
As mentioned, you can leave your comments in the reviews, in the comment sections on the various sources, or of course in the comment section on the YouTube page. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to your fine podcasts. We are available on Apple iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube. I don't think we've had time to figure out iHeartRadio or Amazon because Dad's been traveling, but it is on the to-do list.
our executive producer sent me a note that said, "Hey, Google it. It'll tell you how to do it."
Yeah, it's not a
So,
hard process, and I did send Dad the RSS link. So it really just is, do we have time to sit down at the computer and put it all together?
yes, I tried to do it from my cell phone, and I was trying to have 3 different windows open on my cell phone, and I was not in the mood, and I gave up and said I'll do it when I'm home sometime, and I haven't been home since. So soon,
It's
soon
it's
we're feeling it.
incoming. Anyway, on all those platforms and the general internet, you can find the podcast, the comments, the stats by searching Bruce Monnin's Computer Points, and we'll be happy to have you for future episodes.
And next week, we'll have week 2 in. We'll actually have some teams that have second level points. Well, actually, the numbers might start to mean something. Not a whole lot yet, to be honest, but still. 2-0 is a lot better than 0-2. That's the big number that's going to matter next week. 1-1 still in the ballgame, right?
Absolutely.
And with that, we'll let you go now, and we'll see you back next week here on Bruce Monnin's Computer Points.